Okay, we got a recorded review here for Taco. Let me get Taco's form pulled up really fast here. Let's see here. We get understanding as to where my skills are lacking the most and what I can do to improve. This is gold, and this is Ramattra, I assume anyway. Time of the 4 here. Looks like we're going to be looking at some clash here first, which is lovely because I don't get to coach clash too much. Hate the game mode. Don't mind the maps too much. And we'll take a look here. Oh yeah, 6. So we got some Ramattra. So I haven't coached Ramattra in a long time. He's not the most popular character. And he's mostly played when the character is really strong. And he hasn't been super strong for a little bit of time. Mostly just because of some of the other tanks that have been meta. So let's take a look at the rest of the form here. I've been playing around 1 to 2 hours of ranked daily, occasionally other hours of 1 to 2 hours of quick play later in the day when I'm free and I want to play. Totally fine. I would recommend, in general, if you can, avoiding playing your main when you're playing quick play. Just kind of chill, play whatever you want to if you'd like to. But I don't think it's that big of a deal. Playing a little bit of ranked every single day is awesome. Sounds like you're one-tricking Ramattra, so that's also awesome as well. I do find Ramattra to be a very difficult, sometimes a very difficult character to one-trick because one of the things that you really is important in Overwatch is some form of mobility as a tank so that you're able to choose your engagements. Even a character like Reinhardt has more consistently available mobility than Ramattra in terms of repositioning and flanking and pushing carts and pushing high ground and so on. So with Ramattra, you really are kind of having to be super disciplined with your cover, super creative with the space that you're pushing. The end goal with Ramattra is resource-efficient pushes on backline, resource-efficient pressure on backline whenever possible, and usually with your Nemesis form, because the Omnic form, let's be honest, is more utility, more a little bit of pressure on their tank line, but in terms of the effectiveness of your shield, the effectiveness of your poke versus squishies, it's just bad. It's just not, it's not like Sigma. You can't really shoot squishies. You kind of need to find a way to just punch them. The Omnic form is more about blocking those squishies cooldowns, using that shield. And then if you're shooting anything, it's more often not going to be a shield or the enemy tank because of the nature of how slow your projectiles move. So find a way to get close to people and punch them as resource efficient as possible. And then utilizing your Omnic form, the poke, and the shield to kind of soften up the front line. And certainly a shield can be very useful when you're pushing squishies as well. Okay, I want to be improved the best that I can be and enjoy the competition. Okay, for your training time, I think right now, I don't know where you're at right now, but I do think Platinum is possible. I think that would be the next logical step with the amount of time that you're playing, especially because you're one-tricking. I feel like my awareness and on-the-spot decision-making is not the best. For example, I don't know if a teammate is getting flanked or dove and when I should help them versus holding space, especially when it's a support that needs help. Great question. The answer for Ramattra especially is essentially only to hold space. You never really can peel. Your character's not really built for that. You're a little bit immobile. You don't have bubble. You don't have matrix. Your frontline presence is extremely strong. You need to be taking priority on controlling that space and applying pressure. And if you think about it from this perspective right here, yes, there will be a Tracer on backline. Yes, there might even be a Kiriko or even a Moira on backline. But what is that Bastion doing? What is that other support doing? And to a lesser extent, even what is that Hazard doing? And so if I can kind of control their ability to put pressure on my team, it simplifies what my team has to worry about. You don't have support for that Tracer. There's no Bastion grenade or Bastion follow-up. There's no Hazard follow-up. So for you as a tank, and this applies to Ramattra especially, but really to all tanks, it's more about what pressure can I put on the enemy team? What space can I deny? What space can I control? And not what can I do to peel? Because if you think about it this way, let's look at this exact situation here. This Tracer is going to go in your backline. For you to peel this Tracer, you should have already started to peel back a few seconds ago, which would have meant going back and starting to mark her here. The problem with that is that would have allowed the Bastion to maintain high ground because you're the main reason this Bastion left high ground. So you would deny the Tracer, maybe kind of, sort of, not really, not very good at it. And you would let the Bastion hold high ground, right? And so you got to ask, what's more threatening, a Tracer that's flanking here or a Bastion on high ground obliterating my team, not even being pressured at all? The answer is pretty obvious there. So it's not just a question of what you can do well, which generally isn't peeling, but also really what has the most relevance. And for Ramattra, it's about applying the pressure on the squishies, finding the way to apply pressure, and we're going to take a look at that in a little bit more detail here. So again, the end goal with Ramattra to simplify things almost to hyperbolic state. Hyperbolic. Almost to a hyperbolic state is that you do want to get a Nemesis form on squishies whenever you can. So, for example, right now, I like our initial pressure onto this Bastion. Very good. But then there's no real reason for you not to continue to move forward as long as there's nothing stopping you and to continue to apply pressure from him. And Bastion's definitely one of those few exceptions where your Omnic damage form is actually quite good because he is so slow. He is so immobile. Cat, get down. Get down. So you might as well just put all of your attention on this Bastion, use your shield, use your damage, whatever you would like to do. You can obliterate this guy. Like, even if you don't kill him, he's going to demand double pocket, and you're probably going to force the hazard to come back too. So I don't mind you shooting a little bit here but versus these targets because you can't reach them, but you absolutely can reach the Bastion just with your damage there. So I don't like us peeling and giving up so much space here. You got to look at Overwatch as a way of, I'm going to find ways to access and apply pressure from different spaces. And look at the amount of space that you guys could have controlled here. You could have gone out this way, could have compressed the entire enemy team into one space. Instead, you back up, you back up, you back up. Their Bastion kills the Genji that you should have been pressuring. And so you miss the opportunity to apply pressure. If you don't apply pressure to the enemy team, your team dies. That's the rule with Overwatch. If you don't apply pressure, your team dies. That's how the rule. And that's why it's so important for you to apply pressure on what you can apply pressure on. Bastion is... Yeah, I think that you lose this. Well, maybe. Bastion's one of those few squishies, like I said, where it's not just a question of, is Omnic form good versus him? The answer is, crazily enough, yes. But actually, your punch form is really bad versus Bastion. But yeah, okay. Good damage here. Holding space aggressively. Where's your team? Hold space there. You don't have to be on top of your team, but as long, see, like right now, you see this? Your team is fighting around this location here, so you're fighting around this location here. I like this. I like this. I also like the fact that you're just shooting here, right? Just shoot, 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 shoot. If you need to use your shield here, it's fine. And then if you see an opportunity to push squishies, I want you to do so. I don't like this amount of attention on the tank. Let me explain why. When you have a choice between punching a squishy, shooting a squishy, or punching a tank or shooting a tank, and you both are equal distance, you almost always should be going for the DPS. Now, that's not always going to be the case. A lot of high-level Ramattra, if you've watched it, is a lot of tank trading because a lot of times they space further away to where you can't reach them. But look at the choice that you have here. Let me ask you a question. Who is the more lethal threat right now? Bastion, obviously, right? Pretty easy answer to that one. Dumb question. But actually, it's important for us to specify that even if this isn't the more lethal threat, it's still important for you to do so. And there's a very important reason why. The reason why you pressure squishies when you do have a choice is because a squishy is going to force a disproportionate response as to forcing a tank. In other words, if you're to plop shield down and shoot this Bastion, you're going to do more damage to his health pool than you would do to Hazard. Because Hazard can shrug off 100 damage, 150 damage. You know, he's got the tools for it as well. Bastion, not so much. So you start to put pressure on this Bastion, he might back off. I mean, that's great. But even if he doesn't, he's probably going to force 1, 2 support pocket, you know. Whereas a focus on Hazard, it's not going to get the same amount of response. Remember, 100 damage is not 100 damage. 100 damage versus a tank versus 100 damage versus a squishy, you're going to have very different responses to how that 100 damage is applied. So when you can choose, you're going to shoot the squishy. So I like this. You should plop down the shield even if you'd like to. I respect this. You know that you can't really stop this guy from doing his thing, but what you can do is you can force fade. Yeah. Yes, look at that, instant fade. She's out of position, Bastion's focusing you. And it's not just, oh, I force fade. She doesn't want to be here, bro. She doesn't want to be here. She's not doing anything here. So now, really, it's what's the next step? Yeah, I like this. This is good. This is a really good fight from you. Look at this. Look at this almost like triage, right? The pressure on Bastion initially was fine. I would have liked more there. Good use of the Omnic form shooting the tank, right? Then as soon as you see an opportunity, you Vortex, you Nemesis. That forces 1 cooldown, 2 cooldown. Look at your HP. You've taken 0 damage. You use cover. You put pressure on the Bastion, right? You probably don't want to cancel that just to do that. You just keep going. And then you go, okay, well, now they're out of the fight. Now, I probably would have preferred you to predict and keep pressuring from here. But then once they're in theory out, then you're allowed to shoot the tank, right? Yeah, this is like the amount of pressure that you were able to put out here, not the amount of protection that you provided. That's always a side benefit. But the amount of pressure that you applied while taking basically no damage was insane, especially compared to last fight. Really, really well done. And it was easier, and this is the challenge with the Ramattra, it was easier because it was a more congested point. When points get bigger, you have to be really a little bit more creative and much more disciplined at how you apply. This fight here, you had the opportunity to apply a ton of pressure to Bastion, and instead you got caught chasing butterflies, right? You got to find what's available from your position and apply pressure there. Shoot him. Sure, that's fine. That's going to force his block because he moves slower, so he's easier to shoot. Not to mention the damage of the Vortex as well. Yep, sure. And this is tough because you are down your Moira. And then you did take the full venture on Burrow. I don't hate this. I don't think you're taking bad trades here. You're shooting. Good. That shield, I think it could have shielded a little bit deeper so you can peek around, but I don't mind it. I want to see a Vortex placed right at the Sojourn's feet here, please. I want to see the Vortex. It prevents Sir from sliding out as easily. Again, easier shots. The damage of it is what? I swear it's actually pretty decent now. Is it 45 damage per second? Maybe it's more? It used to be garbage. Let me pull up the wiki here. I think this is important to know. No, only 23 per second. Okay. I thought it was more than that. But regardless, the damage is not shrug-offable. It's something. Okay. So, this is a tricky one. I don't hate the Nemesis form choice here. I question the use of the ultimate. And there's one specific reason why. It's totally fine to use Nemesis to force a cooldown and force them out, but you prefer your ultimate to be more of a finishing blow, right? And for this, because it is going to end so quickly if she does fade it. So I like this if this was Nemesis to force her out, but I'm not 100% certain if that was worth it there. Now, it turns out that the hazard was still there. You're still playing on a corner. You're still not taking a lot of damage, so it's okay. But yeah. But you can kind of see there, it's such a bummer. I would just refresh and keep going. Refresh, keep going, Vortex Venture, Vortex Moira, make a choice. I don't care. Yeah. It's not bad, mate. It's not bad. I really don't like that ultimate, but man, like holding that corner, shooting that backline, you didn't go back and peel hazard because he was too far away. It took you too long to get there. The Vortex should have been using the Sojourn earlier, but yeah, this is good. Your comfort in this character shows. The question is, how do you do on the more broad maps, the maps with more verticality? I might want to take a little bit of a look at the other code that you sent just to see a less favorable map. Yeah, totally fine. Yeah, get her. Nice. Good. Keep shooting. Shoot. Sure. Shoot. Go to the next corner. Punch if they get close. And see, this is where Ramattra is challenging because you got to make a decision here. Do I go back and chase Venture? Because they can be really difficult to clear out. Do I hold this choke here and shoot tank? I think this is a question of convenience. This is one of the big things with Ramattra. Because you have limited mobility, going back to go Venture would just completely allow all these people to walk forward for free. You need to hold this corner. Do not peel, shoot the tank. Or shoot the silverworts. Don't peel. Go for that Moira right there. Get her. Yeah. Instant fade. And now, if there really is nothing close by, I think you missed kind of the Venture and you missed the Moira, which is kind of a bummer. But like, let's say that they were totally out of the fight. Then yeah, go chase. That's fine. Yeah, this is good pressure. You notice how people aren't dying to the dive that's happening here, right? Why? Because there's no follow-up. The follow-up has been completely marked by you, and look at your HP. You're doing such a good job with your Nemesis form and your cover usage that you're not taking damage. Your supports don't have to worry about you. They just have to worry about themselves, right? So this is good, mate. This is really good. Good. Keep shooting. You might be able to get a kill here. Yeah, nice. Keep walking. Yeah. That's okay. It was tricky because you guys were capping point, but you wanted to help your Genji. I respect it. This is just classic Clash where you have to be really careful. I'm not as big of a fan of this side, simply because I think this cover here, this verticality here is more useful for your team, whereas this feels a little bit more naked. But really just need to win the tank trade here. I'm not going to worry too much about this because unless I see an egregious error, Vortex need to be more deliberate with where you're placing it there. You saw Zen, you saw Venture, you put it literally in between them. Never, ever. Yeah, I think almost never do you ever aim for a location. You need to aim for a specific person on that location because otherwise you're going to miss. Don't get greedy. You needed to hit that Venture there. I think this is just classic Clash. Like, Defender's advantage is so incredibly strong there, you really shouldn't worry about fighting there. All right, let's see what you do here. You could Vortex that if you'd like to. I like the shots there. It's fine. You can Vortex and shoot this tank here. Vortex there is fine. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. That was the Nemesis right there. That's the Nemesis. You need to pull the trigger there. I don't know why you're backing off here. You have Nemesis form. You have your ultimate. Hold the corner. Punch these guys in the face. Punch them in the face. So you're kind of just like shooting when there were plenty of opportunities for squishies at point blank range on your corner. And by the way, did you notice that the further you backed away from corner, actually the more damage that you took, even though you're further away? Corner's everything, mate. Corner's everything. So mechanics from you, like the aim was pretty good. You did use your shield, you know, whatever. But frankly, confusing lack of Nemesis form here. And I think it's when people are that close on squishies, you need to use it. Use it. Put the pressure. Don't wait until you're low. Don't wait. Yes, go. Good. So totally fine. Now, there are situations like this where you could go, I think just with Vortex and shooting, I can force or fade. That's a situation where maybe you don't have to use two, you can just use one. Maybe you can Nemesis form, push, and then chase further with Vortex afterwards. Maybe you can layer your cooldowns instead of stacking there, but the concept is totally fine. I see no problem with decisively pushing a squishy when you're given the opportunity. Vortex there is fine, you need to drop shield. Yeah, it's just defender's advantage, and you were a little too slow to drop that shield there. This is a Clash classic. Defender's advantage, defender's advantage, defender's advantage. And then now somehow, despite always fighting here, you're only 1 point ahead. And they have a bit of a snowball here too. Now, one thing I can say is you could consider holding like here. So remember, the goal with Ramattra is to control space that matters so that you can push squishies, right? So you can look at point as mattering because capping it really matters, but that's not really relevant for another 16 seconds. So the question is where do you think squishies are going to want to be? Probably somewhere here, probably somewhere here, probably somewhere here. Your position doesn't really allow you to access any of those positions. So in the same reason why you rotated out of high ground on first fight, why? Well, because people like to be here, and so I want to push them off. I want to kill them, right? You're a hunter going where deer want to go, right? You don't really like being in the woods as a hunter necessarily. You're not built for that, but the squishies like it. The Zenyatas and the Anas and the Sojourns like it, so you're going to go there and get rid of them because you want to get close to them. You have no real motivation to be here because the enemy team has no motivation to be here. There's 16 seconds left. So I wouldn't position myself here necessarily because it is exposed, right? But there's no reason for you not to be here. There's no real reason for you not to be here. And this is not a Clash-specific advice. This is just in general. Unless the enemy team has a real important reason to go for payload, objective, cart, point, whatever, there's no real point for you to be there because you could be actively holding space that the enemy squishies want to go to so that you're either defending your team that way or allowing yourself to be closer to push people. Because if we, like, let's just watch this play out from like a chessboard. Let's see where Team Red goes. And do you see it? Do you see it? Heck, there's even a situation here where you could put pressure on the Zenyatta, right? It's natural that they want to go to those positions. Now that you're here, now this is useful, but you've already lost a lot of cooldowns because the Genji lost the high ground, right? And this is also low rank stuff, so people are not going to even take the space. Like, this Zenyatta position is really difficult to deal with. But yeah, this is not great for me. I'm not going to lie. I would prefer you to hold point when it matters, and otherwise hold space where you might be able to get a squishy. I understand the Vortex, it's not the end of the world. But this Zenyatta is going to be a real problem. Drop your shield, drop your shield, drop your shield, drop your shield. Would like to see shield first, but this is totally fine. At least you decisively used your Nemesis form to push squishies. Block, block, block. Shield, shield and shoot, shield and shoot, shield and shoot, shield and shoot. Good Vortex set if you'd like to. More shots, more damage. I think you're thinking about a backline pusher, which I don't hate. I don't love the Annihilation on tank unless you need the Nemesis form reset. It doesn't really affect your ability to kill tanks by almost anything. And it's just generally better to just shoot or normal Nemesis form and then add the Annihilation when the Nemesis form runs out. The damage from Annihilation is used for two purposes. The extra damage on squishies, which definitely matters, and the reset of your Nemesis form. So you want to do Nemesis and you want to do it more. You had Nemesis, basic Nemesis form here. This damage is not super relevant. You do connect with squishies here, but it would be better for you if you want me to coach the micro here. The optimal way to take this engagement here is to continue to use, how much time did you have in your Nemesis form here? Yeah, so 7, 6, 5, 3. So keep pushing. Punch, 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 push, push, push. I'm low. Reset Nemesis. That's the way to use Annihilation here. So you probably would have used Annihilation this fight regardless, but you would preferred it to have used it a little bit later. And the reason why that's important is not just because you extend the ultimate out by a second or so, but actually it becomes almost the element of surprise, or oh, I think we've got this Nemesis form shut down. Oh, crap. He's got more. But I think this fight really came down to your ability to control space on high ground, which is not as esoteric as a concept as you may think. It just simply meant that when you were on those high ground corners, you were closer to squishies. That's really all there is to it. I mean, that's what Overwatch is. Squishies want to go to good positions, and tanks try to get them off of those positions. Tanks think, how can I get close to you, right? So that I can stop you from taking those positions. I don't hate this. Probably didn't need that shield there. You weren't taking really any damage. No important cooldowns either. This would have been a good use of a shield maybe there. You notice, by the way, that you're leaning towards point again. I think maybe this would be a better spot here because squishies want to go high around, right? So you're not, again, you don't want to stand in a spot where squishies want to go if it's a bad spot for you. You like congested corners and things like that. So that's why you take the high ground and hold it here. But again, you're holding point, but point still isn't relevant. And so there it is, right? This is where it's not your lack of peel. It's your lack of playing selfishly for your angle. Look at what happens. Watch the chessboard here. Let's just look at it from like a blackboard perspective, right? This is really informative, I think. I always like looking at this, right? Do you see it? Do you see it? You're sitting on point. This space doesn't matter right now. Space doesn't matter. This location here allows you to do more damage to squishies, do more damage to tanks. Just as close. And so now, and see the worst part about, and see this is the worst part. The worst part about it is you made a mistake. You don't probably know it. You're probably like, oh, I should have peeled that. But then you're going to go backwards to go deal with the problem, but it's already too late. And in fact, going backwards is what allows these guys to walk forwards. So if you made a mistake, you honestly just have to hold the corner and keep that backline out. That's good. Yeah. Good. Fine here, but even that, you see, there was a little bit of an opportunity cost. Do I go backwards? I let that Zenyatta walk forwards. Maybe it would have been better to kill that Zen. Your mechanics are pretty good. Certainly for gold. I would say this is better than gold in terms of your mechanics. Kitty, no. But let's look a little bit at that escort for a little bit of a change of pace. Because it does... Oh, push. Okay, so it's not escort. Yeah, push is pretty good for Ram too, because it's pretty flat compared to a lot of the other maps. With a lot of the escort and hybrid maps and everything with high ground, you really have to be... How do I get close to squishies with cover? Like, that's the biggest thing. How do I get close to squishies with cover? Sometimes it's pushing high ground. Sometimes it's sitting on the floor. Yeah, okay. Cthulhu Hoop. Same person as last game. Is that a stack or? Alrighty. I don't hate this. You're going to get close. This is corner here. You can also get close in this corner here. It's up to you. I'd go ahead and plop my shield down right now because that will allow me to walk forward and do more damage. You don't have to use shield. So here's the thing with shield. You don't have to wait for it defensively. I hope you didn't get that impression from what I was saying earlier. Just as long as the shield allows you to do things that you otherwise would not be able to do. So this shield here would allow you to walk forward, hold this corner, and just be like, you know. I saw the intention. I appreciated that it was going for one person. You just missed. It's okay. I wouldn't go back. You're close to squishies. You're close to tank. You're fighting people. Don't go all the way back. What are you going back for? I know you think, oh, but robot. Win the fight first. Win this fight is not won. Win the fight. You're on top of people. Tank, DPS, squishies, whatever. This period of inaction is the problem, right? And now look, the Zarya walks forward and fills that space. You needed to be there. You needed to be putting pressure, constant pressure. Shield. You really need to use the shield. You're really relying off of your mechanics sometimes, and I don't mind that. I appreciate the confidence, but it sometimes forget to use your shield when you're actually taking space so that you can do more damage or take less damage. And then you use it there, unfortunate. You can go get her. You can go get her. Yeah, it's too late now. You can kind of see the problem with Ram sometimes is that it feels like sometimes you get pulled in so many different directions, and if you're indecisive, you're a really bad tank. Ram is not built for indecision. You have to be decisive about when and where you're going, and if you don't, you lose. And the Zarya, like any one of those decisions would have been fine. Even starting on this right angle would have been fine. But you can't spend time to go all the way back around. You're too slow. Let's chill. You're close to squishies, so we don't need to overthink it. We don't have our Nemesis form. Again, this aim is really good. Well done. That's not a difficult, it's not a easy weapon to aim. Push out the Reaper. Always choose Reaper over Zarya when both are close. Almost always. Nemesis form, please. Nemesis form. Ooh, jeez. Even for the survivability versus squishies, you need it. Good. That's fine. Again, you went for squishies because they were both close. If you had focused Zarya there, these guys would have killed you. Or your backline. I think the biggest problem here is that you're taking a lot more damage because you're not as attentive to where you need to be and maybe greeting your shield. So your supports are focusing on healing you rather than keeping themselves alive. Sure. Alright, let's keep going here. Now, remember what we said about Annihilation. I like Annihilation as a layer most of the time. I don't know if you guys are going to fight here. Looking at where your team is fighting, I don't like this corner. I like the tendency to get close to squishies, and I think you're doing this especially because you have Annihilation. But remember, that's always done within the context of where are we fighting as a team. So you don't need to be with your Widow. You don't need to be with your Sombra. You don't even need to be on payload. But your team is fighting here. We're shooting on this general location here. So if you're fighting here by yourself, you're going to lose this cooldown trade and you're going to get forced out. You need to be sitting here and doing exactly what you're doing, but doing it from this position here. Because all these cooldowns that you're doing just don't matter. Look at that. Look at that. Bam, 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 bam. You're losing this tank trade. You're losing this tank trade. All the supports are focusing you down. It's just a question of where are we fighting and then find the corner there. Think back to the previous Clash round. I said, I don't want you on point. I want you holding this corner. I want you holding space. You're doing that here. But you're not doing it where your team can fight. If you think back to that clash, those high grounds, that your team was fighting in that general location. So you got to choose to hold space within that general location. And that was not happening here. So you lost all of your HP, all of your Nemesis form, forced Annihilation, wasted your shield. And before your team really could do anything, it was a 1v4. Oh no. It happens. It happens. Don't sweat it. That doesn't happen to me because I'm perfect. I make 0 mistakes. Never. If anybody's ever watched me play can attest to, but, you know. Yep, get close, be decisive. Yep, be close, be decisive. I want to see a decisive Vortex or a shield here. Now, you can walk forward to the next corner here because your team is clearly fighting in this area. You can't go back to deal with this. Just like, really, if you think about this, who's better at pushing backline here? I mean, we talk about limited mobility. Zarya is even worse than you are. So I think, like, you're in a good position here. So just let's walk. This is where I think your mentality could be a little bit better with kind of finding a corner, finding an anchor spot, where instead of just kind of floating and trusting your poke mechanics, being a little bit more decisive, kind of like that, right? Being a little bit more decisive, especially when you have your shield, your Vortex, your HP. There's really no reason not to. Like, you're kind of waiting to use your cooldowns until you're low, and you've already lost the space, so the shield is just useless. That's fine. There was intention there, so I get it. Vortex, what am I saying? Nemesis form. You need to go. Even just to hold your block there, right? So you don't take as much damage. Sure. Total chaos. This is fine. This fight was lost with your bad resource trades 60 seconds ago. Nothing that you've done in the last 10, 15 seconds has been horrendous. That's what you always love to hear. Nothing you've done in the last 10 seconds has been horrendous. Alright, so here's the rule. You're going to sit on this corner here, or you're going to sit on this corner here. You're going to plop your shield down, you're going to plop your Vortex, you're going to Nemesis for him, and you're just going to survive. You're just going to shoot and punch, shoot and punch, shoot and punch. There's not many tanks in the game, maybe not a single tank in the game, that can simply hold a corner like this and just live and punish, and live and punish for as long as Ramattra. Plop the shield down. Plop the shield down. Sure? Sure, it's fine. Sure. Sure, I like that. Good, good, good. Absorb 2 ultimates there. Good stuff. That shield is way too passive. Let me explain. Does this shield allow you to do something that you wouldn't otherwise do? No, nobody's even looking at you right now. So, you either shoot without shielding, or you walk forward and shield. That's your choice. So, always ask yourself with your shield, what can I do with this shield? Am I getting pressured? So then shield myself. Or can I walk forward and pressure them? But the shield does absolutely nothing. I don't mind the Nemesis form, but it's probably too late. You've missed your opportunity to HP trade. You could reset this depending on how this goes. You could Vortex, and yeah, you could have Vortex that as well. Yeah, that's where the reset's useful. You see that? call an ambulance, not for me kind of a moment, right? That was really well done. Excellent job. Let's we got a few more minutes. Let's watch 1 or 2 more fights here. I don't know if I'll have time to finish the VOD, but we'll definitely get a couple more fights in here. I actually really like the Zarya matchup versus Ramattra, or vice versa. I think her beam damage, even when she's high charge, doesn't really do a lot to you. And you really can just kind of walk over her, even. Your punch damage versus her... Okay, so this is the tricky one. Like, this is where you actually have a dilemma. Do you push point, because objective definitely matters, or do you push top? I would prefer pushing top here, especially now that you're down one, because, like, you might as well try to win, right? You're not going to... Pushing the objective is guaranteed not going to win the fight for you. But this is where, like, as opposed to Clash, where you were holding point before it even mattered, now there is an actual dilemma. Like, do I want to pressure cart when it actually matters? This is, like, where it does take a little bit of thought. Sure. Even the shield kind of made sense, right? You're definitely getting shot. Yeah, don't overchase. She's too far. Shield there is fine because it did feel like you were taking damage. You should live until you're reset. Sure. It's actually winnable here. Like, you've managed to live for quite a long time. Good Vortex. Very specifically on the Reaper. Very good. Yeah. Ooh, do it. Yeah. Nice. Good stuff. There are moments where it feels like your decision making is streamlined for you, and you just have to. It feels actually like when there is more pressure on you, and it makes sense given what Ramattra's kit is capable of. When the pressure's on you, you handle it very well. You shield, your Vortex, you pop your Annihilation, or you pop your Nemesis, and you manage your HP really well for a gold player as well. Your mechanics. It's when stuff starts to spread out, which understandably is difficult for Ramattra. There's a lack of indecision. There's like, do I shield? Do I not shield? Do I make a play? What do I do? You just need to be decisive. You need to find that corner, find that pressure, and go pursue it. Even if you can't peel, doesn't matter. Be decisive. Because situations like that, where the decision-making process is streamlined and you're just allowed to play Ramattra, you do a really, really good job. And it's not always easy, right? There's Sleep Dart and Nade and Reaper and Cast. There's a couple of things that are kind of difficult to deal with here. But like right now, you have cooldowns. You should know that there's a couple people out of position here. You need to go. You need to go right now. You need to get in their face, manage your shield, manage your Matrix, manage your Nemesis, but you need to go. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Right now. Push. Vortex. Vortex. Ah, but you looked away. You didn't even Vortex accurately. It feels... Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Okay, we're gonna go. We're gonna go. Sure. 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 At least you decided here, right? Like, I'm going to cart. I'm gonna get this fricker. You know? Drop that shield. Drop that shield. I only say drop that shield because if you drop the shield at the floor, then you can keep shooting the tank and then transition to Nemesis form later. But it doesn't matter that much because in theory you can come out of your form with shield here. So, all right, let's watch one more fight here. I want to see a pretty fight from you. I want to see some nice Annihilation layering. Boy, that's a sentence that would only happen in Overwatch. Annihilation layering. And then you could start to think here. Where does the enemy team want to go? Where am I going to get a better access to backline? I think this is where you go high ground. Because you can cut your angle on the floor. You know, maybe cart will be close too, but I wouldn't hate if you took top here. Sure. All right, I lied. We're going to finish this VOD. You can't win that fight. That's Nano, High Noon, Death Blossom. Your team is way too close. Your Juno wasted ultimate. That's fine. Happens. Decisive push. Decisive push. You got shields, cooldowns. Let's go. Get that Cassie. Go. A little bit blind. Pop the shield here. And pop the shield aggressively so that you can take space with it, right? You have all the CDs in the world. Be decisive. Get him. Yeah, it's a matter of millimeters. Just a little bit of a lack of decision on pushing the Zarya or the Cassie or the Moira, right? You needed that decisive push, and like of all the tanks that just kind of exist due to your inconsistent poke, due to your inconsistent mobility and inability to really move around, you just miss out on some opportunities. So I'm going to give you some feedback here, and I want you to write this down in your end. Number one, I want you to be decisive in your setups. Close corner access to squishies. Close corner access to squishies. Find that corner. And I'm not going to even have as much feedback for cooldowns as I do with most plat players, because I think you actually have a pretty good understanding of how the characters can work. There are a couple of details. I want to see when you have shield, use that shield when you get hard pressured, or find value by taking a different angle or a different position with that shield. I went layering, preferably with Annihilation, Nemesis into Annihilation, usually. And then I want you, I think the biggest thing is reiterating kind of what I've already said, but really, really want to emphasize, be decisive with where, don't peel back, don't chase, find what you can pressure, find what you can control, whether that's the tank, DPS, squishies, whatever, and apply there. Now, when you have time to set up and kind of have time to set up on high grounds and angles, can think about where the squishies are going to be, go for it. But if you're here and the fight started and there's somebody over there, you're here. You just win the trade there. Take less damage, do more damage. Force more CDs, do less CDs of your own. That's basically the mindset to be in too. Obviously, it's a little bit easier with Ramattra here. With escort maps, anything with a lot of verticality, you're going to be it's the same fundamentals, but it's a little bit harder to do. If you need questions, just let me know. If anything doesn't quite make sense, just let me know. And that's all I got.